Welcome to the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I'm Renée Lautermilch, Chief Editor at Smart Publishing, and this is the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of authors who are changing lives through their books. In each episode, we'll uncover the inspiration behind their work, their journey to becoming an author, and the impact they're making on the world. So if you're passionate about the power of storytelling, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Your support helps us amplify these voices and their incredible stories. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I'm Renée Lautermilch, and as you can see, I don't have a guest today. It's dawned on me here lately that there are times where I just have topics that are really fresh on my mind that I just feel the need to talk to you guys about. And so some of these episodes are, of course, going to be with authors who have published books, and we're going to dive into those books, dive into those stories. Some of the other episodes will be just me talking about all things writing, publishing, marketing a book launch, using and leveraging your book beyond launch. And this is going to be the first one of those episodes. So what is really fresh on my mind right now is the overwhelm of writing a book. So I talk to a lot of people, right, about writing a book, and it seems like there is this widespread sentiment that writing a book is a really hard thing. And that's why so many people put it off. People say, I'll finally write my book once I'm retired or once I take a sabbatical, or it's typically this sentiment that, oh my gosh, that's such a huge undertaking. I don't have the time to write a book. And of course, if you've read one of my books, The 1 Hour Author, my book is all about dispelling that myth, and letting people know that you can write your book in as little as 1 hour a week. In fact, I've seen people write books in less than 1 hour a week, over the course of several weeks, of course. In fact, how do I know that that's true? I wrote The 1 Hour Author with as little as 1 hour a week. I'm telling you, it was 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 30 minutes there if I got lucky. And so it's not this massive undertaking like people think it is. I think that we have this romanticized idea around writing where it really only happens if we're in a cabin somewhere in Maine, and we're on, this deep sabbatical or on this trip by ourselves, and we're just going to sit here and the book is going to pour out of our head with no reference points or anything, and that's just so far from the truth. I think there's just too many movies out there where one of the main people is an author, and when it shows them writing, that's how they're writing. And so everybody gets the idea that that's how writing is done. But going back to where this spawned out of, again, I'm talking to people all the time about this. I'm constantly dispelling this myth that, writing a book has to be this super overwhelming, massive process. And, I got an email yesterday. So, from time to time, I get messages from people asking advice or letting me know where they're stuck. And the email that I got yesterday was from someone who is in that state of overwhelm. And one of the things they said is, I wish someone could just write my book for me. And my response to that is, or was, ghostwriting is a thing. There is a form of ghostwriting out there where you can literally pay someone to write a book and put your name on it. Me personally, I'm not into that. I'm into all things authenticity. And so to me, the idea of putting your name on a book that you didn't write, it just doesn't sit well with me. Ownership is one of my biggest core values, and that just goes against that. It just takes all the purpose of a book out of it. That a book is supposed to be the unique value, the unique stories that you give to the world. And so you need to write your book. That's not to say that ghostwriting doesn't have a place though. So, I think it's perfectly okay if somebody, as an editor, myself as an editor, if somebody has a chapter, let's just say, that just seems to end really abruptly and they're not quite sure how to end it, I can ghostwrite, that closing paragraph to help with segueing into the next chapter, and to just provide a sense of closure to that chapter as well. Sometimes people get stuck on how to write their introduction or their conclusion chapter two. They've written the bulk of the book. Okay, let me help with that. And then, of course, there's the main form of sort of ghostwriting. I don't really consider it ghostwriting. Some people do, but where somebody just records themselves talking, and then you have to take a really heavy editing hand to it. There are some circles that consider that ghostwriting. I don't think it is, because you're taking the person's story and you're just polishing it up. You're adding the right grammar, punctuation, making sure that the sentence structure and the flow is conducive to somebody actually wanting to read it and being able to follow the story. But there's that as well. So what I ended up doing for this person who messaged me is I broke down what I believe is probably one of the easiest ways to write a book. And this is if you're not a writer's writer, if you are not a writer, but you want to write a book, this is the easiest way to do it. Step one, chapter map. If you know me, if you've ever talked to me, you know that I will say chapter map 20 billion times. If you've never read my book, if you've never talked to me, you're wondering right now, what is a chapter map? Do not go into an aimless pursuit of your book, because that's how you're going to end up with something that either ends up talking in circles, or it starts in one direction and heads off into another direction. It's not a cohesive story or book from start to finish. The first thing you should do before you start your book is you should create what I call a chapter map, which is your North Star. It is your 30,000 foot view of your book from start to finish. It literally breaks down, what are you going to talk about in your introduction? What's chapter one? What are you going to talk about in chapter one? What's chapter two? What are you going to talk about in chapter two? All the way through until you get to your conclusion chapter. That way, having that backed out view of your book from start to finish, you can tell, okay, does this flow well? Is this cohesive? Does this make sense? And then every time you sit down to write, whether you're actually typing or you're recording, you look to that as your reference point, and that basically gives you your assignment. Okay, I remember now, chapter two, this is what I'm talking about. These are the points that I want to make sure to express. Now I'm centered around that, and I'm collected and organized, and I can now record or write that chapter. So that is the first thing that you have to do. You should honestly spend the majority of your time there, because that is your concept. And your book is only going to be as good as your concept, right? And the structure and the framework that you put around that. So that's step one. Get a really solid chapter map out. Step two, and again, I'm not a writer. I don't like to write. If that's you, personally, I am a writer and I like to write. But if you are someone who doesn't like to write, you're going to record. You can use Zoom. You can use Microsoft Teams. You can use whatever it is that will give you an exported WAV or MP3 file. All you need is you just need the audio file from you recording. Just sit there, tell the story. When you record, you're going to speak a little slower, because you want to make sure that when the transcription of your audio file is done, that all the words are separate and it's not mistaking, a jumble of words you said together for something that you didn't actually say. So you're going to speak a little bit slower, but you're going to just tell the story. 15, 20 minutes will come out around 6-ish pages or so. That's non-final formatted pages as well. So typically that will end up to be quite a few more pages of a book once final formatting is done for the book. And yeah, that's it. Then you take that file, your MP3 or your WAV file, and you go to a place like rev.com, or I personally use Descript with the authors that we have who are recording. You can even use, they have a free version that's pretty darn good. There's a ton of awesome features in the upgraded version, but you can really get through with the free version. Take the free version and upload your audio file. It's going to transcribe it for you, and then you can export to a Word file. Okay, cool. So now I've recorded my chapter 1. I've got the exported Word file. Oh my goodness, look, it says here, like there. Oh, this isn't anything that anybody could possibly, want to read. That's bringing us to step 3. So, actually, step 1, chapter map. Step 2, record. Step 3, transcribe. Step 4 now is what it's bringing us to. Forgive my miscount. And that is hire a developmental editor. There are some really, really great top-rated developmental editors on Fiverr. You can pay as little as $250, $300, depending upon how many words your final non-edited manuscript comes out to. And what a developmental editor does is they take something that's typically a pretty rough draft. It can even be something to where it's almost like stream of consciousness type condition when they get it. They just need the content. They will take that content and they will move it around, structure, and mold it into something that is polished, very coherent, and comes across in a way to where you might not have ever imagined your story could sound that good. That's what a developmental editor does versus a line editor or a proofreader. Line editors and proofreaders, they're just going to kind of focus a little bit more on sentence structure, grammar, spelling, those sorts of things. So a developmental editor. And then, of course, once you have that, there's a number of other publishing steps that you need to do: cover design, interior, formatting, category selection, there's plenty of things there. But when it comes to writing a book and getting your book written, that's how easy it could be. What this boils down for you is that's as little as maybe 30 to 40 minutes a week. If you're talking for 15 to 20 minutes into Zoom, and then you take 5 minutes to go upload and export your audio file into a transcribed Word file in Descript, that's it. You're writing your book. That's all it takes. So now this overwhelm of writing a book is, 30 minutes, as little as that per week. If you want to knock out 2 chapters, look at that. That's an hour a week, 2 chapters a week. If you've got 10 chapters in your book, 5 weeks, and you've pretty much gotten a full manuscript written. What else are you doing with 1 hour a week? I guarantee you, I don't care who you are, you can find and prioritize 1 hour a week to make the time if this is something that is important to you, if you really, truly want to get your book out there. So that's everything that I have to say on this topic this week. That's what's on my mind. Again, just to summarize, writing a book doesn't have to be overwhelming. Throw out whatever Hallmark movie or thriller movie you saw where the main character was an author and they were just, setting up in some fanciful small town out in Maine and writing their book. That's not how books get written. Please throw that out. And, the most important thing is to just start. Just start and do something every week. It's the whole eating an elephant saying, one bite at a time. All it takes is consistent movement forward, consistent progress forward. Don't get in your head. Everybody has that imposter syndrome. My story's not good enough. I'm not a writer. This isn't important enough. Nobody's going to care. Get out of your head. There are people out there who need to hear your unique story, your unique advice, whatever it is that you have to share. there are people out there who can benefit from it. So just, move out of your own way and just start to focus on taking action. And things will take care of themselves. And you'll look up several months from now and you'll have a published book available out there on the market. So if you want, any other tips or advice, buy my book, The 1 Hour Author. It's available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback and hardcover. That literally takes you from start to finish all the way through solidifying your concept, what you're even going to write about, how you break down the chapters, how you create your chapter map, all the way through to publishing decisions, how you publish your book, how you get it out there, how you market your release, and how you continue to leverage your book over time for whatever your goals are for that book. So, once again, available on Amazon. I also have a KDP self-publishing course that is available at smartpublishingservices.com. That course is a screen share start to finish on everything that you need to do in the KDP Publishing Console to self-publish your book as well. And of course, you can reach out to me through smartpublishingservices.com as well if you have any questions or anything at all. And I'm on Facebook. I'm not on, I guess I'm starting to get on YouTube too, but really just Facebook is the primary place where you can find me as well if you have any other questions. So if you enjoyed this episode, please take some time to rate, review, and subscribe, and tell everybody who you know who wants to write a book or has written a book about it. All right. Until we talk again, take care.